a young angler growing up, I had a collection of fishing related books that I would pore over frequently, and one of my favorites was this one right here, The Freshwater Angler's Advanced Bass Techniques. Let me tell you, this book was the bomb. It had really colorful pictures, examples, charts, and helpful tips and tricks on how to catch more fish. I spent many hours poring over this book and trying to absorb as much information as I could. But there was one particular segment in this book that always stood out to me. This section right here where Roland Martin tells you how to customize a balsa popper. It has all kinds of details on how to sand it down and how to paint it and add a feathered trailer. Needless to say, this was something that always stuck with me, and when I started my YouTube channel, I actually made a video similar to this on how to customize a cheap plastic popper to make it a little bit better.
Okay guys, I am done customizing the popper. This is the color I chose. It may look a bit crude, but it definitely will improve the action.
It is no secret that the popper has been a staple in bass fishermen's tackle boxes for years, and a lot of people like to craft their own poppers out of wood. I tried this a couple of times and it never really worked. And that brings us to the topic of this video. The other day I was rummaging around in the studio and I found this bait, which I had totally forgot about. This is an old handmade popper that I bought somewhere. I like to buy old tackle boxes full of old lures, and I'm guessing this guy ended up in one of those tackle boxes. Like I said, this is a handmade wooden popper. This is not something that you can buy. This is truly a one-of-a-kind piece. This lure looks awesome. The only problem is it is in very rough shape. As you can see, the paint is starting to bubble on it and it looks really, really crusty. The hooks are all bent up and nasty, and frankly, it's not that usable. So this gave me an idea. What if I would breathe new life into this lure? What if I would restore it back to the way that it was? What's so cool about this lure is that somebody took the time and effort to hand make this bait, and it seems a shame to just let it rot. So in the spirit of this fishing book right here, we are going to customize and restore this vintage popper. Let's do it. Alright, so like I mentioned, I went to the store and bought some things to aid me in this restoration process. I bought a number of things. First of all, I bought some sandpaper pads right here. This one is a 320 grit, I believe, so this is kind of a finishing pad. It's going to get the thing nice and smooth. I also got a 36 grit pad, so this will allow me to take off a lot of that crusty paint. I also got some Velcro strips, but these are not for the build, they're for something else. Those don't count. I got some brushes so I can apply the paint to my bait, and I also got some little dabby brush things that I can use to apply the fine details if I need to. Then I went and got some paint. I went with enamel paint that's used on like, you know, like model cars, model planes, that kind of stuff. I don't know if it was the best option, but I'm going to try it out and see if it works. I usually use spray paint for my lure builds, but I kind of want this bait to have kind of that hand-painted, hand-carved feel, so I decided to use this paint. I also want to kind of try to recreate the exact same color scheme on this bait, so I got some black paint right here for the black spots. I got some green paint right here for the top of the bait. It's got kind of this frog green. If the camera ever focuses, I'm sure you can focus. Come on, let's go. Not gonna focus? You can do it. I know, I believe in you. Come on. You can, yeah, there we go. Yeah, I got some green paint right here. This is, yeah, for that kind of frog green vibe. And then I got some yellow paint for some of the accents on the bait as well. I have 3 primary colors, and I also bought some clear sealer. So when I finish painting the bait, I can seal the bait with this clear gloss, and it should keep the paint from chipping. Without further ado, we should start trying to restore this bait. Alrighty guys, the first order of business with this build is to take the hooks off this bait. As you can see, we got a hook here and a hook here, and while I'm sanding this down, I don't want to have to be constantly sticking myself, so I got a pliers and I'm just going to remove the hooks from this bait. They have these really nifty little screw things. They just kind of screw into the body, and they should come out. There you go. As you can see right there. This will just allow me to work with this bait a lot freer. Like I said, it won't have hooks flopping everywhere, and since I'm going to be doing a lot of sanding, I want to be able to work as freely with the bait as I can. Okay, so there is the bait without any hooks. Now let's get to sanding. Now for sanding, I'm going to use this thing right here. This is like a sandpaper foam pad thing. This is a 36 grit, so it's quite chunky and it's quite abrasive. It's going to take off all this old paint. One thing I want to be careful with this is it can remove a lot of wood, so I don't really want to damage the overall shape of this bait. I still want to keep the overall shape intact while removing the paint. So I'm going to go slow, I'm going to be gentle with it, and hopefully we shouldn't have any problems. Whoever made this bait used multiple coats of paint, which is good for the overall construction of the bait, but it's kind of annoying for me because it makes it a little harder to sand it off, but I'm making progress. So I've spent the last 5 years sanding this bait, and I'm still not quite done with it. As you can see, there's a lot of paint still left. I've gotten most of the green off, but there's still a lot of this white primer, and the problem is this white primer is kind of sticky and gluggy. So it's not sanding off very well, it's kind of smearing, so this is going to take a while. It's time for a coffee break. Alright, so the sanding was taking forever, so light fell. Alright, so this sanding was taking forever, so I decided to use a razor blade and just chip off the rest of the paint, and it actually worked out really well. As you can see, I was able to get all of the paint off the bait right here, except for the mouth. Now this is going to be challenging because this mouth is concave, so it's going to be hard to get sandpaper in here, and it's going to be hard to get the razor blade in there. I think this is going to take the most time. Alright, I've removed all the paint from the inside of the mouth and from the body. Now I'm just going to take this fine sandpaper and just run over the bait just to smooth it up a little bit, and then we'll start to paint. Alrighty guys, I let the base layer dry overnight. As you can see here, it's just a flat white coat right there. Now it's time to start painting some of the details. As you can see from the photo right here, the top of this bait has a green color, and I believe the bottom is just a standard white. So what I'll do is I'll leave the bottom white, and I'll go ahead and start painting the green top part that kind of gives this bait that frog pattern. So let's start with that. So this is the green paint I bought right here. I'm going to pop it out of the package. It's not the exact color of green, but I figure it's close enough, it'll work. So I'm going to go ahead and stir this up. That's a pretty good color green, actually. I might mix a little yellow paint in with this, just to give it a little bit of a lighter green color, but the actual green looks pretty good. Alright, so I'm going to apply my first coat of paint right here, of the green, just to the top part of the bait. Alright, so as you can see, I applied the first coat of paint right there. It's not perfect, but I think it'll work. I'm going to let this dry, and then I'm going to add some more. Alrighty guys, the first coat of paint has dried. Now as you can see, I have some lines along the sides here that aren't very clean. So what I'm going to do is just put some masking tape there and add another coat of green and try and get some cleaner lines on the sides. finished off the bait with a coat of clear coat to seal the paint and protect the bait. Then I went ahead and put the line tie back in and put new hooks on it, and I included a feathered trailer on the back just for some added attraction. And there you go, guys. This is the finished popper. I gotta say I'm pretty happy with how this bait turned out. The overall color scheme I think looks really great. We got a standard white bottom and then our beautiful frog pattern on top with, of course, the classic red mouth and some really cool looking eyes. I went ahead and put new hooks on this thing, and I added a feathered trailer for some extra attraction. And I gotta say, this bait actually performs pretty good in the water. It's got a nice popping action, and I have no doubt that I can catch bass with this. Sadly, I can't catch any today because, well, it's winter out, okay? It's winter time, and the bass don't really feed topwater in the winter. Nevertheless, I am really excited to be able to bring this bait back to life. This was a really fun restoration project. Obviously, the paint job didn't come out perfectly. I'm not an expert when it comes to painting. It's a little rough, but I think it kind of adds some character to the bait, and it kind of gives it that handmade feel. So there you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to see more videos like this where I restore old fishing lures, let me know down in the comments below. This was a lot of fun, like I said. It was a lot of work, but it was very enjoyable to bring this old bait back into a working new condition. Thank you so much for watching this video, and as always, stay hooked. I'll see you later. I'm gonna leave it at that.